Who is the Buddha? What did the Buddha have to express on contentment, on this amazing truth that the Buddha shared called Tendel? Buddha nature. Would Rinpoche be so kind as to share with us what we are to understand from the statement that all sentient beings possess the Buddha nature, shunyata, and in English, emptiness? Is there a shortcut to nirvana? Doctor spoke to us about happiness, but now the national happiness, the gross national happiness. If we would like to hear from Doctor, what is gross national happiness?
Well, for me, what I've just shared about my understanding of happiness is actually, when you take that seriously, you realize that happiness cannot only be an individual thing. You know, this relationship, harmonious relationship with self, others and nature is not something that belongs to the individual alone. It belongs to the whole of society. So a happy society, in my view, is a society where these things are cultivated. And I think in Bhutan, because of the very strong tradition, you know, Buddhist tradition that is still alive, there is at least opportunity for people to look inward, to, you know, think about deeper values just beyond material success. So this is possible. I think that Bhutan is a society where solidarity, community is by and large still alive. So again, you know, this connection is by and large still there. Maybe in Thimphu less than in the rural areas, but still, you know, it's a society, you know, coming from having lived in many, many countries in my life. When I come to Bhutan, I feel there's something gentle, kind in the people, in their relationship, you know, that you don't find in so many places. Well, you know what the pristine nature of Bhutan is like, you know, it's quite unique, you know. So I think they are the conditions, the given conditions are still quite good. Now, I'm not saying this is not challenging, because really trying to develop the country, which is of course necessary, to develop the country, to modernize the country, and yet not losing, you know, these beautiful values, this social solidarity, without destroying the nature, is not an easy task. But I think so far Bhutan has done pretty well, you know, if you compare it with many other countries in the region. But it is a tightrope walk, no doubt, you know, and I'm not saying it's an easy thing. But I think that the vision of gross national happiness as a goal, as a development paradigm, is a guiding star. It's like a North Star. You know, when you want to go north, you look where's the North Star and you can follow that. Of course, you will never reach completely north. Most of us will never go to the North Pole. Still, we know what is north if we have the guiding star. GNH is a guiding star. So it's not perfect. You cannot say, okay, it's a GNH society, everything's... No, you know, we all know there are problems, you know, from youth employment to many others, of course. But it's a country that has a clear vision and a guiding star. And I think that's really the wisdom of your kings.
Buddhist values and Buddhism, what role do you think that plays in GNH?
I think that's something very interesting, because on one hand GNH is something secular, and I'm convinced that you can apply GNH in any country. In Bhutan, I believe what makes it more easy is that the Buddhist values support this kind of approach. For instance, the idea of contentment, right? That you don't need to go after all your desires, and you know, we know from the Buddha that, you know, greed and desire is one of the main source of suffering. So if people grew up with this kind of ideas that, you know, greed and desire is not only positive, that it brings a lot of suffering, then it's easier to find contentment with what we have. So, for instance, that's a Buddhist value that supports GNH. And we think of, you know, the will to bring happiness and well-being to all sentient beings. That's a very fundamental Buddhist value, but it's also a GNH value. You know? So I think there are overlaps, and the Buddhist values support GNH, although GNH in itself doesn't have to be Buddhist. 2 years ago, we organized a inter-religious dialogue here in Thimphu with religious leaders from Islam, Christianity, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist from various schools to discuss, you know, how would GNH look like in your context? And there was quite a strong consensus that yes, you know, even with the values of Christianity or Islam or Hinduism, you could create a system similar to GNH.
Now, within GNH and the work that Doctor does, a call to care, share with us what this curriculum is about and how is it progressing?
So that's a very interesting program.